everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
No.
Somebody said no. What about now? Oh, thanks. I had to speak in front of some dignitaries before, some mayors before. I was not as nervous as I am right now, okay? All right. Whew.
Hold on.
Let's get this started. Let's have some fun, okay? We're going to do a life journey. Oh, Amy's going to fix some things.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
If I walked around, I'm a walker. If I walked around like this, could you hear me?
Yes.
No. Somebody said no.
I can give you the lapel mic.
No.
Okay.
Okay, my voice projects. Can you hear me okay, Miss Helen?
Yeah.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, Amy asked me what I want to do, my life story. And I said, okay. And when I read the description, it really said stories, different stories of your life. So I'm going to share with you different stories of my life. I think it's, woke up, ate breakfast, went to school. But different things happen. We all have journeys that we take in our life. Well, I can't tell you about my life without telling you about how I got here. Oh. Back in the early 1900s, a woman named Jane Ann lived in Jamaica. She married a man named Arthur Johnson. They had a lovely relationship. They were young, they were married, and they had a son. They named him Arthur Johnson. Unfortunately, as a fisherman, the senior James Arthur Johnson got lost at sea. He went fishing, that was his job. He went to work, and one day he didn't come back. He was my great-grandfather. So here is Miss Jane Ann with this one son. Husband is lost at sea. Couple years go by. It's pretty much he's gone, right? So she marries another man. His name is Jordan. She has one son, remember? Then with her and Jordan, they had 9 children. So my grandfather had 9 siblings. So he was very happy growing up in a big family. So then my grandfather moved to Panama, from Jamaica to Panama, where he met the Miss Feisty, strong, assertive Hilda. And he married Hilda. So Arthur and Hilda had 10 children. They had 3 girls. No, I'm sorry. They had 3 boys and 7 girls. One of the younger girls, her name was Priscilla. Priscilla Lofton. Guess who she is? My mother. Absolutely. She is my mother out of the 10 children. Now, simultaneously, across the ocean while this is going on, in Greenville, North Carolina, not here, North Carolina. Did y'all know there's a Greenville, North Carolina? In Greenville, North Carolina, Alberta and Arthur, yes, both my grandfather's names are Arthur. They were married and had 6 children. Their second oldest was a boy. His name was James. He is my daddy. Yeah, thank you. He is my daddy. And they moved from Greenville, North Carolina to Baltimore, Maryland. So my parents met, my father was in the Army, and my parents met when my father was stationed in Panama. He went on a blind date. And when he went on a blind date, he went to pick up my mother, him and his Army buddy. My mother did not like him. She's like, oh, he's too handsy. He's too aggressive, assertive. She didn't like him, but she married him. She married him, and they had a beautiful relationship, a beautiful marriage for many, many years, traveling the world. They lived in Germany, they lived in Korea, they lived all over the United States, and she was loving the Army wife life. Well, they stationed in California at one point. And in California, her and the Army wives will travel to Hollywood and meet the different stars. Well, she met a star that she fell in love with. This woman was so nice. Her name was Sophia Loren. That's right. Her name is Sophia Loren, and my mom, first child, she said, if it's a girl, I'm naming her after her, Sophia. So here I am, Sophia Loren. So my parents are still traveling, and one of the things that happened when I was about 3 years old, they took the ship, if we could go to the first slide, we took a ship called the U.S. America.
Now it's not working.
Okay.
It was working, now it's
It's
not
okay.
working.
It's called the U.S. America. It's a huge ship. Right now, it's retired in the harbor in Philadelphia. And you can go and tour this ship. And I think you can actually have events on the ship as well. Well, we were in the United States, and we were on this ship going to Germany. And the crew found out that my mom, who is literally 9 months pregnant and has this 3-year-old little girl, that her birthday is coming up. So the ship, and I don't have that picture, but the ship crew had this huge birthday party for this 3-year-old little girl whose mom is having a fit because she's going into labor. The boat rocked and it rocked and it rocked. And let me tell you, I remember little parts of that. We were on bunk beds in the ship. I guess that's how they did it back then. And I remember my mother holding me so tightly. She said, baby, it's gonna be okay. And I remember my mom holding me and my dad and all of us are in this bunk bed, this one little bunk bed. We get to Germany, 2 days later, my second sister is born. And her name is Monica. 3 years later, my baby sister is born. Her name is Melody. So I am the oldest of 3 girls and I am in charge. Okay, that's just it. You know, 50-something years later, I'm still in charge. And you will see them later in the video. The next slide shows, that's me, and that's my daddy. We're in Korea, and we did all things of the culture. We wore the kimonos. We had a person who served us. She came to our house. She fixed all the Asian food for us. And I was very, and still am, very, very close to my daddy. And you'll see that as time goes on. So, so here I am, growing up now. I think I need glasses. One of the things I think I'm very blessed for is I was raised by 2 separate sets of family. My mother's family and my father's family. When my father retired from the Army, he moved back to Baltimore where he was around his parents, his siblings, his nieces and nephews. Meanwhile, my mother's family, they lived all over the world, especially in the United States. Remember, it was 10 and they lived in Panama. And at that time, conditions in Panama weren't that good. I do want to tell you this about my grandfather in Panama. He worked on the Panama Canal, and his hobby was, he was a beekeeper. So he would come home, and to relax, he would go and work with his bees. Every now and then, you'll see me with a bee on, something with a bumblebee, and that's what it's about my grandfather. I, unfortunately, only met him 4 times in my whole life because him and my grandmother lived in Panama, so when they came to visit, that's the times I saw him. Beautiful man. When he passed away, the bees left. His sons went to take care of them. They were all gone. They did not stay around once he passed away. People thought it was a mystery. Why would they leave? Because they realized that he was gone. And I love honey. Do y'all like honey? I love honey. So, although my parents divorced when I was about 15 years old, they made a promise to each other. We have 3 daughters, and we will still raise them together. No matter what we do, no matter what happens, if we remarry, we will raise these 3 girls together. We'll not let any argument or problem come in between us. Well, my father would go on dates, and he had to tell the women, well, this is going to be a quadruple date. because it's going to be me, you, and my other 3. And, you know, if you're dating a man and he's bringing his 3 daughters along, you must really love him. You must really like him. So my father did find a woman who he remarried, who was okay with, you know, having 3 daughters. The next slides, and it's 4 through 8. You can go through them slowly. This is my family. This is my part of my Panamanian family. Remember, it's a lot, so you're gonna see bits, parts of them. The next one, and that's in Panama. This is more of my family, a family get together. That's my father's side. More of my family, again, this is in Panama, my aunts, my uncle, my cousin. And this is Baltimore family. Actually, my husband's family as well. My sister-in-law is in that picture. That's me with a big old smile right there. And is that 8? Okay, this is one of my favorite pictures. So this is my mother, and I know it's a little blurry. This is my mother. This is me. This is my sister Monica and my baby sister Melody, and that's one of my mother's brothers. He was he lived in New York. He raised his family in New York, and he was a bounty hunter. And he had this huge voice, and it was like booming and scary. But all the nieces and nephews loved him, and we were like, "We're not afraid of you. You can be as loud as you want." So we had some really good times, family gatherings. On my father's side, as I was growing up, every Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, 4th of July, we got together. My grandparents, all 6 of their children, all 13 of the grandchildren, and as the great-grandchildren came along. And some people are like, that's a lot. Well, they exchanged houses. So one holiday it would be at one person's house. Another holiday it would be another person's house. One Christmas, remember I grew up in Baltimore. One Christmas as a teenager, we had a snow blizzard. And we were at my grandparents' house, and they had purchased this very large, beautiful home, which people thought, why would you do that? All 6 of your children are grown. My grandfather said, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna purchase this large, beautiful home. Well, here comes this snowstorm. We could not get out the house. We could not get on the road. Well, I was excited. It's a slumber party. Meanwhile, my older cousins were like, I got to get out of here. I am not staying stuck up in Grandma and Grandpa's house during the holidays. Well, guess what? Some of them tried to go, and they had to come back because they got stranded. It was one of those funnier moments being growing up. Well, I was such a sweet child. I only had one bad story to tell you.
Yeah, right.
So my mom, she was a nurse. She was a registered nurse. And one night they called her to work the night shift. Well, I love to entertain. Ever since I was a little girl, I love to entertain. So why not have some friends over? So I had some friends over, and we were playing Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson, and we're in the living room. No drugs, no drinking, promise. We were just dancing, and I had my socks on, and I'm dancing on the beautiful hardwood floor, and I slip and bust the back of my head on a wooden chair. So I looked at my hands, blood. And I told everybody, y'all have to go. But 2 of my friends stayed. We can't leave you here bleeding. I'm like, yeah, you can, because if my mother comes home and finds you here, my mother was no nonsense. So they kind of bandaged me up and they left. The next morning, my mother came home and I am sitting on the living room sofa. I could not sleep. I was scared to death. And I told my mom, I told her the truth. I was in the living room dancing with socks on, and I fell and bust my head. And as a nurse, she checked it out and she saw that I was okay. Guess what I didn't tell her? If you see my mother, do not tell her that I had a party that night. Because I don't know if she ever knew that I had a party night. So that's the only bad thing I did growing up. So the next slide, yes, that is me. I know. It's a different dress size, but it's still me. So one of the things that I was very active as a child, only because my mother told me I had to be active or I had to do chores. Pick your choice. You either stay home and do chores or you go out and get involved. So I was in a pageant. In this pageant, it was a neighborhood community center. And they hosted this pageant for the young girls. So, we wouldn't get in trouble. We had to come every day after school. We had to practice our dance, our song, our group activity, our talent. I did a poem. I'm not doing it today. I'll do it another day. And my mom, the professional registered nurse, and her sister-in-law, which was my father's sister, another professional, very well put together person, sat in the audience with other family members for this pageant. I must tell you, the director of the recreation center, his name was Robert. I don't know why I remember that. His niece was also in the pageant. When the pageant was over, everyone cheered. I won third runner-up, there was a second runner-up, and his niece won first place. Well, that mom and that aunt of mine stood up and said, "Wait a minute! How in the world is the director's niece going to win first place?" You know how embarrassed I was? I didn't even care. I was having a good time. I didn't care. I was having a good time hanging out with friends. But they made a little bit of ruckus. They were asked to leave. And I just took my trophy and said, "Bye, everybody." And I left. I had a really good time. Yeah, but that was my little pageant days. And I was around 16 years old at this time. And by the way, the gown I wore at this part belonged to my father's wife. See, I told you, we were all friends. Everyone got along, and I needed a gown to wear. So my father's wife said, "I have a gown, some gowns," and I just picked one of her gowns, right? One big happy family. At age 18, something really special happened to me. While I was in Baltimore, I grew up in a church, and it was a Pentecostal holiness church. And the church was called Bethel Holy Tabernacle. And at 18, I gave my life to Christ. I decided that I was going to become a Christian and follow the Christian path. I was going to do all I can, and I realized that there are no perfect people. And even Christians are not perfect. We stumble, we fall, but we try every day to live the life that Christ wants us to. And what that really is being kind to others, right? Being kind to others. So I hope you see me living that life where I am being kind to others. So my family, Baltimore family, father's family, they were three fields: business, educators, and law. That's what they did. Business, educators, and law. So much so they made us go to the same school. There was a school, she's not here. There's actually a resident who we went to the same high school. Not the same time, but we went to the same high school. Western Senior High School was an all-girls school, and you had to apply for the school, and you had to have a certain grade point average. Well, in middle school, I didn't want to go there with all them girls. I wanted to go to the school in the neighborhood where there were girls and boys, co-ed. So the way it worked, your teacher will tell you at the end of the school year, as you're graduating from middle school, this is the school that you'll be going to. So I filled out the application to go to Lamel High School where there were boys and girls. And I'm sitting there and she's calling out the different students and she says, "Sophia Lofton, Western Senior High School." I said, "No, there's a mistake. I did not fill out an application." She said, "No, you didn't, but your father did." He filled out the application for me because he knew I did not want to go to the school. But let me tell you, it was one of the best decisions that my parents made for me. All the female family members, even now, attend Western Senior High School. It is an all-girls school. At the time, it was one of the top all-girls schools in the country. Right now, not so much. But it's still a really good school. And I had some family members that worked there as well. Well, after high school, the push was to go to a historically black college, HBC. Everyone knows what a historically black college is. I didn't really, yeah, that's one of them. Howard is one of them. Coppin was the school that was closest to me. Again, I did not want to go there. I had other thoughts, other plans. I did not want to follow the family path. I wanted to be a designer. I wanted to work with art. I wanted to work with furniture, fashion, photography. But I went to the school because that's what they paid for me to go to. I didn't get a scholarship. After 2 years and C average, which is a no-no in our family, I decided to fill out the application to a school in Philadelphia, the Art and Fashion Institute of Philadelphia. I took a part-time job to pay for my own way at a steakhouse. It was not a steakhouse, let me take that back. It was a truck stop steakhouse. It was called Steak and Egg, and it was just up the street from me. I didn't have a car, I caught the bus. I went there the first night. It was fast-paced, it was greasy, it was hot, the customers were horrible. There were these people coming in, they had no respect. Here I am like this 18-year-old, 19-year-old, just want to make some money so I can go to the school I want to go to. And I put bacon on the grill and stood there for 20 minutes. Why isn't this bacon cooking? Ma'am, you need to turn the grill on. I had no idea what I was doing. Nobody trained me. It was horrible. My feet was hurting. I was sweating. I said, I can't do this. I cannot do this. At the end of every shift, everyone who works gets to make their own meal and sit down and eat. I was never really a steak eater, but I had a steak that day. So I worked this night shift, and I had steak, eggs, and orange juice. I don't even drink orange juice anymore, but that's what I had. I remember clearly. And I got out, got on the bus. Oh, I forgot to tell you. They also told me that they get robbed at least twice a week on a night shift. So I got out, I got on the bus, I went home. The next day, I did not go to work. Now back then, there were no cell phones. There was a house phone. And my mom said, the manager of the steak and egg place called, and he's like, why aren't you coming in? I said, Mom, I'm not going back. I said, I don't know, I'll figure something out. I'm not going back. Well, my parents said this, because you made an effort, because you tried, and my little sister said, we knew she wasn't gonna last one night. Because I made an effort, they allowed me to go to Philadelphia, to the Art and Fashion Institute of Philadelphia, actually, and I had the most amazing time. And so amazing, I did not put pictures here. Yeah, so that was me really just wanting to follow my own path, you know, not stick to tradition all the time, do what I wanted to do. And when I was done and I came home, everything was great, except I couldn't get a job in fashion in Baltimore. I ended up being a credit collector. I hung out with Donna Karen, I met Willie Smith, hung out in New York, and now I'm back in Baltimore on the phone. Ma'am, you're 30 days past due. I said, no, this is not going to work. I cannot stay here. Being a debt collector, that's not my passion, that's not what I went to school for. So one of the friends I met in school, we took a trip to South Carolina for their family vacation, and they invited me to go. While we were in South Carolina, I told them, I'm gonna leave you guys for 2 days and catch the train a little bit further south to this town I heard that was really hot and happening called Atlanta. So they said, okay, we'll see you when you get back. So I got on the train, I went over to Atlanta, hung out for 2 days by myself, got back to them. We came back to Baltimore. When I got home, and we had those old-fashioned answering services, I had 6 calls offering me a job in Atlanta. You know what I did? I went to Atlanta. I went to Atlanta. I moved. I subleased my little apartment. I told my family I am out. They were not happy. they were not happy. All of the family were there in Baltimore, my father's side, and that was the thing. You go to school, you come back, you get a job here, you stay. I said, I can't. I have to go. Sorry, love ya. So, was in Atlanta, was there during the Olympics, 1996 Olympics, was able to have a volunteering job where everyone on the tour bus was from Japan. They all spoke Japanese. They did not understand English. I do not speak Japanese. I was on the tour bus, touring everyone around, telling them to look at this great city of Atlanta. They were taking pictures and laughing. I don't know. We just connected. They were Japanese, I was American. It worked. I had a great time there. So my dad, he came to visit me. And I don't mention this much, but my dad was very frugal. He was very frugal. To me, at a fault, when you're a young person, you want, Daddy, give up the funds. So I rented this little house, little 2-bedroom house in Midtown Atlanta. If anybody is familiar with Atlanta, Midtown. And my dad was coming to visit. I had no furniture. And I didn't know anybody, by the way, but this was something I wanted to do. I had no furniture whatsoever. So I picked my father up from the airport. He comes into my place, and my father, when he comes into a new place, he does this. It doesn't matter where he is. I'm like, Daddy, stop inspecting things. So, but his profession, Skip, our facilitator director, that's my father, that was his profession. It's facilitators director. Anyway, he comes in my place, I have nothing. I said, Daddy, I have gone to Williams-Sonoma and Pier 1, and they had everything on hold. My bedroom furniture, my kitchen furniture, especially my dining room furniture. You ready? Let's go. He said, absolutely. So he goes with his eldest daughter, who's moved 1,200 hours away from home, and we go into Pier 1, and he's like this. And then I said, okay, now we're going to Williams-Sonoma. We go to Williams-Sonoma. He said, you know what? When we were coming in, I saw a Kmart. Maybe he wants to buy a pair of socks. Why are we going to Kmart? We go to Kmart. He picks out a card table. You heard me. A card table and 4 folding chairs. And we take it back to my little place. And he sets it up. And he said, your parents and I paid thousands of dollars for you to go to that fancy design school. Design your place. So my first place had a card table with a beautiful tablecloth and beautiful cushions on the chair. He did buy me some mattresses and box springs for the bedrooms, but so you know what? But I learned from him. I learned how to be a little bit wiser eventually with my money there. So, ahead of myself. Okay. Something I didn't tell you about middle school. When I was in middle school, I met this young man. His name was Michael. And we realized we had a lot in common. Our families were connected. We went to separate churches, but they were associated. My grandfather was his father's employer. We just found these connections, and we became really good friends. We were young, so were we dating? I don't know. You can call it that. Being very exclusive. And we kind of dated off and on, back and forth. By the time I moved to Atlanta, he was working for a company, MCI, and they would send him to Atlanta for training or workshops. And we would get together and have lunch and we would talk. Well, we reunited and we actually started having a relationship. We developed a relationship. But what's happening here? He lives in Baltimore. I live in Atlanta. So this went on for a couple of years, and I'm like, you should move to Atlanta because I don't want to move back up to Baltimore. But around that time, my grandfather, my father's father, passed away, and my family had begun to get into the real estate business. And Since I was like the cousin that wasn't married, I was in my late 20s by this time, and I wasn't married. They asked would I come back for a year and help out where my grandfather left off. Live in the house with my grandmother. She was there by herself. And I did. I came back. I worked for some amazing companies because they would allow me to travel, and I traveled a lot with them. So I came back to Baltimore. Well, now I'm in Baltimore. Guess who I'm seeing almost every day? Michael. Yeah. I'm seeing him almost every day. And he did something. You can turn to the next slide. I think it's 10. He proposed. He proposed in June of 1997. I said, no, I don't want to marry you. He proposed in July of 1997. Before I did this, I had to ask him because I couldn't remember. And then I said, no, I don't know if I want to do this. I love this single life and I get to go and come as I please. He proposed in August. And I said, I gotta say yes, because I don't think I'm running out of proposals here. So I said yes, and we set a Christmas wedding. And I have an aunt who had this beautiful house and a beautiful fireplace, and I was gonna come down the spiral stairs and be at the bottom of the fireplace, and we were gonna get married the weekend of Christmas. Well, in November, I said, I changed my mind. I don't want to get married. And my family, by this time, they are through. They're like, you said no 3 times, and now you're calling the wedding off. Well, after some soul searching, some counseling, I said, you know what? I think it's okay. I should marry this guy. I should get rid of this fear. January the 10th, the following year, we did get married. January 10th in Baltimore, it's usually at least 2 feet of snow. This particular, Jen, you can go to the next slide. That's my daddy. That's my daddy. This particular January 10th, it was 70 degrees. The sun was shining. There's a picture of my mother-in-law taking off her coat outside. It was the most beautiful day. I think there's another picture. My 2 little sisters, they're looking at my ring. So they have on red because my wedding was supposed to be Christmas, remember? We already had the dresses. You're gonna wear those red dresses. I already paid for it. I don't care if it's not Christmas anymore. So that was my husband and I, and he is one of my very, very best friends. Slide 13. This is a picture of this is not the actual dog. The dog looked just like this. We bought a dog named Sasha. So we got married, we bought this house. It needs a dog. It needs kids, it needs a dog. So we bought Sasha. We told them we wanted a German Shepherd Lab mix. We did our research. We found a person who was gonna give us a German Shepherd Lab mix. We went to pick it up, we did the investigation, we did the paperwork, all of that. But something was happening. The days were going by, and Sasha was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We were Michael and I were very busy people. We would leave and come back, and she would wreck the house. So she was still a puppy. We bought 1 cage, she grew out of that cage. We bought another cage, she grew out of that cage. So one vet trip, I said, Doc, tell me this. Why is she getting so big? I mean, her paws were like this. He was like, well, what do you think she is? A German Shepherd Lab. He said, she's not a German Shepherd Lab, she's a Great Dane Lab. We got hoodwinked. So anyway, unfortunately, like I said, Michael and I were very busy. We were involved in a lot of things in our church, in our community, and we really couldn't keep her because she needed someone all the time. I wanted to keep her so much, I started trying to take her to church. The deacons didn't like that. You cannot bring your dog to church, Sophia. I'm like, well, I want to keep her home. So we made the really hard decision to give her to a family. We gave her to a family, and they lived out in the country area, and they had a lot of kids. They already had 2 dogs. it was really sad to get rid of Sasha. Even though you don't have them that long, because we didn't even have her a year, but we knew it was best for her and it was best for us. So the next few slides, 14 and 15, show Mike and I just hanging out. We, like I said, we got involved in a lot of things. There's an organization called Be Gaddy, and they help people who don't have food get food. So we worked with that community. We collect food in different neighborhoods and made sure they got food. There's another place called Movable Feast. People with Movable Feast, their first focus were people who were HIV positive and could not come out the house during the holidays. So we would go into this beautiful kitchen with teams of people and chop up vegetables and make soups and salads and turkey plates and give them to these people who could not eat. And that's just some of the few things that we did. So I told you, well, we'll come back to that. So it was our first Thanksgiving, or maybe the third Thanksgiving, but it was my turn to entertain. It was my turn. I set out this beautiful table with all this gorgeous china, and I cooked all this food, and all of Michael's siblings came, his parents came, nieces and nephews, my siblings came, everyone came to my beautiful Thanksgiving. I was so proud. So they all came in, and I had nameplates. Everyone had a place setting. They sat at their place setting, and they were happy where they were sitting. And the food was set out, and Michael said the grace, and everyone's like, Sophie, this is beautiful. This is really nice. And then everyone got their food, but they kind of just sat there looking at me. And I'm like, what did I forget? Do I have the rolls? Do I have the gravy on the table? So Michael had to take the sword on this one. He said, babe, people want to watch football. They don't want to sit here at your fancy table. Everybody wants to go and watch the game. And I said, okay, y'all can, before I can finish the sentence, they got their plates and scattered. And everybody left me there sitting there, but guess who stayed? My mother-in-law and my mother. So the three of us sat at the Thanksgiving table and had our Thanksgiving meal. And I said, I'll never do that again during football season. And don't break my china, my good china, going down the stairs. So I just thought that was such an interesting time. So the next few pictures, 16 to 21. These are my twin nephews. My middle sister had two boys, Kedrick and Kennedy. I went home earlier this year because they graduated from college. Kennedy played football, and Kennedy in academics. And Michael and I, we don't have children, but our nieces and nephews became our children. So we help raise them. We help with school and soccer. And you know, if you're a parent, you know how busy your active children are. So Michael and I were available, and you can go to the next slide. That's when they were babies. Weren't they precious? They were very precious babies, good babies. And then the other one. So my sister has a grandson, and this is her 2-year-old grandson. His name is Cairo. I got to tell you a little funny story about Cairo. So they have a baby's gate for Cairo, so he doesn't go in the kitchen. And the baby's gate has a top lock and a bottom lock. So his great-grandmother, my mother, was at my sister's house looking after Cairo. And my mom, everyone left, and she said, darn it, I need to get in the kitchen. But they locked this freaking gate. And my mom is trying to work the gate. She's like, how do you unlock this gate? Well, little 1.5 Cairo came up to the gate, and she had the top lock unlocked. He bent down and unlocked the bottom gate. And my mom just stood there. Why do we even have a gate? The boy knows how to use it, right? So that's my little Cairo. Go to the next slide, please. These are my goddaughters. A young lady that I went to school with has 2 daughters. They are my goddaughters. I helped raise them as well. And the next slide is my niece and nephew. They're on Mike's side. They spent a lot of time with us. We traveled with them. as well. And the next one is William. My baby sister and my middle sister were pregnant at the exact same time. They're the twins, and William were born 2 weeks apart. That's how close they were. So when they got to be, and they had amazing doctors. What are they? They're not pediatricians. What are they called? Obstetricians. Thank you, obstetricians. These obstetricians said, you ladies will carry these babies until we say so. What? Till you say so? So around 9 months, this sister has twins, and the other sister's having her baby. Guess who was driving them from baby store to toy store to grocery store? I have become their driver, and I loved every minute of it. And they had the babies in different hospitals 2 weeks apart, but it was a great thing for our family. So when my father remarried, his wife had a daughter. So he had 3 girls and his wife's daughter. But when his daughters had children, they all had boys. They gave him his boys. So he was really excited about that. And that's a very exciting part of our lives. They're all adults now, but we still spend a lot of time with them. We're gonna bring this in. So, I told you I was working in the interior design field and after fashion into the interior design, and it had been a very long time, and I did a lot of projects, did a lot of going to a furniture company and having to remodel the actual furniture company. So this means every piece of furniture they had to go. And it meant sitting down, ordering new furniture, buying, talking with buyers and vendors and carpet people and curtain people. Because if you've ever gone to a furniture store, every little area is called a vignette. And different vignettes are based on different styles. So I did this in Florida, Virginia, Philadelphia, and Maryland, and it was a lot of work, and I loved it. But after a while, it was time to go on into something else. So I went back to school and started taking classes in human services. If you go to the next picture, during this time, Michael and I love to travel. So we travel to places, and you could go 22 to 26. We traveled to Canada, Jamaica, Bahamas, Grand Canyon, Las Vegas, Aruba, Cape May, and Mexico, and a whole lot of other places I don't really remember. But that's us traveling. Oh, I always look for a boat. No matter where I go, I look for a boat, because I want to be on a boat. That's a horrible picture. I don't know about that. But yeah, so that's us, that was us doing a lot of traveling. I had a couple more stories, but we're getting a little late. Just a little. So back to the career change. We'll see if we have time for this. When I went into human services, I worked for a company called the Arc of Baltimore. And the Arc of Baltimore, what they do is they help people, adults, with mental disability, is what it's called, mental disability, adults. And what my job was I was called an employment specialist. So I made sure whatever company they worked for, I made sure that company knew how to work with that person. Remember that they had mental disabilities. So you cannot tell this person, you need to clean up the floor. It was the way you had to talk to them. It was the way that you had to express with them. So that was my job, to make sure that the person and the person they worked for had good communication. And I really enjoyed it. Michael and I moved to South Carolina because he got a job offer that was better than in Baltimore. And I've been wanting to come back south for 17 years. And I was patient. So when he got this job offer, okay, don't judge me. He said it's in South Carolina. I said, where? He said, South Carolina. I said, that's not far enough. I said, I want to go back to Atlanta. And he said, well, I got a few days to give them yes or no. I said, are the roads built up in South Carolina yet? I'm being honest, Miss Helen. I said, how many stoplights does the town have? I know you are. So I said, listen, why don't we just take a trip, drive down to South Carolina, check it out. I gotta see what I'm getting into. I like cows and horses just like the next person. But you know, I'm a city girl. So we drive down to South Carolina, down here. I said, you know, you can tell a town by its what? Downtown. I said, since the main city in the upstate is Greenville, let's drive and check out this little downtown, Greenville, South Carolina. And this is how I'm driving through Greenville, downtown. Oh, stop, pull over. And we get out and we walk the bridge, we go to the waterfalls, and we go to the shops, and the people are ridiculously nice. I said, this is not real. The people, how nice can you be? This is not real. Then I kept seeing these orange paws. I said, what is that? I mean, orange paws everywhere. There was a store, all they sold was orange paws. And then people are coming down the street, head to toe in orange. I'm like, what is this orange paw situation? There was a person on their lawn, they had their flower arrangement like a huge paw. I said, I'm a little scared of this cult thing going on. I don't know. So my sister said, oh, it's not football, it's a religion. She came to visit. She said, yeah, this orange paw is a religion. But I love every minute about it. I love the energy. I love the friendliness. So much so, after being here for 6 months, I went back to Baltimore. After we moved here, I went back to Baltimore, and I walked into the store, and the little young man in front of me, he didn't even hold the door. And I just stood there. In South Carolina, they hold the door for you. I went to the market, and the cashier ringing up the stuff, and I said, how are you? I'm fine. I said, well, I'm going back to South Carolina. It was funny. Okay. I think, what time is it?
Doesn't matter.
Oh. Okay. So, I told you Mike and I like to travel. I have one little funny story. I think it's funny. So we like to do a lot of things and try things. We tried fencing. He did scuba diving and snorkeling. I wasn't doing that. I just like being on the boat, get my toes in the water. Well, we also did horseback riding. So we went to this horseback riding class, and then we went on a horseback riding trip. So we go on this horseback riding trip. We're novice. We don't really know how to ride horses. Somehow in the woods, why do you have students in the woods on horses? A group of people got lost, just gone. We couldn't find them. I'm looking at the instructor. I don't know where they're going. I don't care. I'm gonna stay on the horse and be with the instructor. So, my dear husband thinks it's his job to go and find these lost people. So he goes off and he goes looking for these lost people. Meanwhile, the rest of us go back to the ranch, and we're sitting down outside on a bench, and I'm not sitting, I'm pacing. I'm like, where are they? Where's my husband? He's lost. I'm looking at the owner. Are you not gonna go and search for them? My husband's out there. And all you see is land, and then you see forest, and the sun is going down. Now I'm scared. I'm gonna have to call his mama and his sister, tell him I lost your son at the horse ranch. And I'm like, where's my husband? Oh my gosh. And then I look out and I see the sun going down the trees. And I see this over the horizon. Here's my husband. With all the lost people behind him. My husband is not a cowboy, but he was a cowboy that day. And he comes riding over the horizon, over the hill with all these lost people. And all the other people waiting were cheering. And when we get in the car, I said, don't you ever do that to me again. You let the owners do that. But it was one of our funny travel moments. There was another time he thought he was an advanced swimmer and he could swim with the stingrays. I'll tell that story, okay? So we're out on the ocean, we're on the boat. I'm just lollygagging with all the other wives, and there are the men, for some reason, some of them went over to do either two things. Either the shark and stingrays for advanced or for beginners. My husband, I've snorkeled and I've scuba dived. I'm an advanced guy. I'm gonna put on this gear and go ahead. So he jumps in the water, and I'm just drinking my little strawberry daiquiri and talking with the women. And all of a sudden, over the boat, you see this snorkel out thing come up, and these two hands, and my husband comes up, and I get up. I'm like, oh God, what's wrong with you? I can't do it. I can't swim over there with them, and I am like frantic. So the crew comes and they get him over and they make sure that he's okay, and he puts all the gear back on. And I said, where are you going? I'm going with the beginners. I just can't. I'm gonna go with the beginners. And I sit back down, and the lady says, was that yours? I said, yeah, that was mine. That was mine. So yeah, we've had a whole lot of different funny stories about our life together. So I moved to South Carolina, and I want to work with the ARC Baltimore like I did, but the South Carolina version. They don't have room for me. They're a small operation here. They don't have room for me. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I said, well, I just don't want to sit around the house. So I said, I will work with helping the elderly. I will get a job, one of those agency jobs. And I got an agency job. That way I can make my own hours. I can come and go as I please. I can go to the houses that I want to go to. Well, the agency kept sending me to where? Bowling Green Village. And I was working with different people in the licensed area. And finally, a young lady said, you're here all the time. Why don't you just apply for a job? Well, I applied for the job, and I didn't know, I thought the job was supposed to be I'm helping people. I'm going to doing the caretaking. I did caretaking, I did front desk, reception work, I did hostessing in the dining room, and it was fine. I met so many people, I had such a great time, that after a year, Teresa, HR, came to me and she said, well, we have a couple of positions open in the company, and they're full-time. Are you interested in working full-time? Absolutely. And I really like it here. So she gave me two options. I'm not going to tell you one option, but the other option, she said, have you met this woman named Amy? And I said, yeah, when I work with Walter, I meet Amy all the time. I see her all the time. Well, that's your other option. I said, I want to work with Amy. I want to work with Amy. I don't want to work in the other option. And then I was over at the license area working in activities. So I worked with them in healthcare. This is my first time working in a community of 55 and older. But I learned, Amy was an amazing teacher, and one of the main things I loved about working with Amy is that she allowed me to be me. She allowed, Sylvie, if you want to serve cookies and tea, go right ahead. If you want to make clown hats, go right ahead. As long as you're engaging with the residents, that's what I need you to do. And so she helped build my confidence that I really could do the job. So after working in that area for several years, a position in the social work department came up, and I took that job, and I worked it for 1 year. I didn't like that job. That's funny. Why did y'all laugh? I didn't like being a social worker. So what happened next? I came over to independent living. And that's been almost 2 years now over in independent living, and I love it. You wear me out, but I love it. It's a good kind of wearing out, right, Terry? No, I really, really enjoy it. My family knows that I enjoy it because I can't get off the phone with my family without them saying, well, what about the residents? Well, what did you do with the residents? And where are you going now? And what are they doing now? So they're really happy that I'm happy. So what's next for me? I love doing things. I love being active. I try to grow a garden. It has not done well, so now I'm working on herbs. The tomatoes, the cucumbers, the broccoli, the lettuce, the spinach, they're not having a good time. So I'm working on herbs right now. And one thing I didn't share is that I do voiceovers. So if you call your doctor's office and you hear, or you call the pizza company, because I'm on the voice of the pizza company. Hello, thank you for calling Johnny's Pizza. We're not in right now, but please leave your message and we will reach you. That might be me. So I do some voiceover. It's fun. I was asked to do it. This is the job I don't like. When you have to go online and there's an instruction person there's a voice that's telling you how to work the machines or the app. Yeah, I didn't do too well with that. I tried, but I didn't do too well with that. I love needlecraft. Where are my needlecraft ladies? I love doing that as well. I started going back to water aerobics, and I'm loving that. It's really helping me. And I'm practicing sustainability. So you will actually be having talks by other people about living a more sustainable life, about helping the planet. So my goal list, this is part of my list of wishes and goals. To finish writing 3 books I've been writing for 15 years. A devotional, a mystery, and a love story. But the mysteries keep turning into the love story, and the love story keep turning into the mystery. So I would love to travel to Greece, Panama, Bangkok, and Tuscany, Italy. Also Cape Town, Africa. I want to go there as well. I think I have, the next slide is, this picture is like very serious. I'm about to get into this long stretch white limos. They don't do limos anymore, thank goodness. And the photographer didn't want me to smile, and I was just thinking, I'm about to make one of the biggest decisions of my life. Once I get in this limo, there's no turning back, because his assignment is to take me to the church. You know, he can't take me like to New York or something. And it was just one of the biggest decisions that I had to make. And you heard my story. He asked me 3 times, and I said no. And then, well, 2 times, and then I changed the date. But that was almost 27 years ago, and I do not regret it. There's been ups and there's been downs, but when you can find that really good partner, and I know I'm speaking to some of you, who just sticks in there with you from good or bad, the ups and the downs, it is an amazing thing. It is an amazing thing. The picture before that, back to 26, was me showing my sisters and I, because I love being a big sister. I love being a sister. Now, they tell me what to do, but I'm still the oldest, so there's that part. So, I think there's a slide 28. What is slide 28? Oh, my parents! Right. Or that's 29. I don't know which one it is, but who I am today is because this man from Baltimore via Greenville, North Carolina, and this woman from Panama came together, and they decided to have a relationship together. And like I said, they're still really good friends today. And I am so grateful to have these wonderful parents who helped raise me. And, you know, they supported me good, bad, indifferent. And they made me who I am today. And I love this picture because they were extremely happy. And that is the day of their wedding. Well, I think my last slide says, thank you for hanging out with me today. Oh, right. Okay. So my workers have something, and this has a lot to do with, because I don't talk a lot about my Panamanian side. So in Panama, the native people of Panama are indigenous Indians, and they make a pattern called mola. And the mola is something that they make with fabric. It's like a quilting situation, pieces of fabric. There are ladies in the audience that they're gonna pass around. I have a bag, and I have a pitcher, and I have a piece of fabric. They're gonna pass around the mola and show you what they do in Panama and how they make their money, the women who live in the regions who have to work with their hands. And this is them in their celebration outfit. This is like carnival or festival in their outfit. And I do have this, I have it hung in my house. Yeah, it's really pretty, it's bright, it's colorful. I was sorry, I was supposed to show that to you. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being so gracious and allowing me to share some of my life stories with me. Thank you. No one had any questions, right? Okay.
Yeah, I have moments because I was